political or economic event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune, has stressed that reconsidering the administrative division has become an inevitable necessity in order to find a balance between rural and urban municipalities. As the UN Secretary General has condemned the killing of civilians in the Israeli attack against Al-Mawazi, the Israeli occupation pursued its pounding of Gaza, killing and wounding scores of Palestinians. The Summer University of the Polisario Front and Sahrawi state officials has kicked off at the Faculty of Law and Political Science in Boudouou in Boumerdès province, and U.S. presidential election candidate Donald Trump was shot in the ear in an attempt of assassination during a campaign rally in Pennsylvania. So these are the headlines, and now the news in detail from Radio Algeria International. First in our news, the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune, has stressed that reconsidering the administrative division has become an inevitable necessity in order to find a balance between rural and urban municipalities in order to achieve the principle of democracy in Algeria. Asia Bakar has more details.
During his meeting with civil society representatives on the occasion of the working and inspection visit he paid last Wednesday to the province of Tizi Ouzou, the President of the Republic said that the status of development across the various countries' provinces requires finding a balance between rural and urban municipalities in order to achieve democracy. In this respect, the head of state highlighted some municipalities suffering from a financial deficit, stressing that the matter requires considering the administrative division and that the current organization no longer matches the economic and social reality of the country. The President of the Republic explained that the administrative division files will receive priority and that the municipal and state law will be devoted to the required balance between rural and urban municipalities in order to achieve the principle of development across all states of the nation.
On va revoir tout le découpage administratif. On va revoir le code de wilaya, le code communal, هادو قاع يتشافوا. اليوم مثل ما قالها نظن سي بريزيدون دو لا بيبليك كي دي كاين 900 بلديه فقيره. هاد البلديات كيديروا يمارسوا الديمقراطيه، ما عندوش لو نير دو لا غير ما عندوش. دونك il est obligé de se soumettre à la tutelle. La tutelle parce que تعطيه الدراهم، elle est obligée تتبع الدراهم تاعها وين مشاو. L'État ne peut pas donner de l'argent à une commune qui va se permettre d'appliquer la politique de son parti, en dehors de la politique de l'État. Et ainsi de suite. Donc, il faut trouver un équilibre بين البلديات القروية هذه البلديات الريفية والبلديات الحضارية. بغينا الديمقراطية تبدأ بالاقتصاد والاقتصاد يبدأ بإعادة هيكلة البلاد.
Meanwhile, the head of state underlined that development is a right for every Algerian citizen, adding that the state has opened the door for Algerians to contribute to development and every citizen can invest in his country without any issues.
And the coalition of the parties of the majority for Algeria has affirmed its determination to contribute to the success of the presidential election scheduled for September 7 and to carry out the electoral campaign of candidate Abdelmadjid Tebboune. The details with our colleague Asia Bakar again.
In a final communique issued at the end of a national conference of the coalition, the political parties specify that the decision of the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune, to run for a second term came in response to the call of the homeland and of large fringes of society, highlighting their determination to contribute to the success of the presidential elections and the electoral campaign and to raise awareness among the electorate about the importance of voting. The members of the coalition also displayed their commitment to mobilize all their activists and voters around candidate Abdelmadjid Tebboune at all stages of the electoral process, reaffirming their choice to be partners of the state and its institutions for the completion of the development process. The coalition parties explained that their support for the candidacy of President Abdelmadjid Tebboune for a second term was motivated by the necessary continuation of his program and the reforms he initiated, notably in terms of preserving the social character of the state and strengthening social protection. They also recalled the achievements of Algeria on the diplomatic level under the leadership of the President of the Republic and its honorable positions in international fora in favor of just causes, notably the Palestinian and Sahrawi causes.
Still with the domestic file, the Minister of Communication, Mohamed Lagab, has affirmed that the printing houses are ready for the presidential election of September 7, particularly with regard to supplying them with sufficient quantities of paper. In a statement to the press on the sidelines of an inspection visit to printing houses here in Algiers, the minister ensured the availability of paper for the electoral process, insisting on the need for these printing companies to be ready at the technical level and also in terms of paper for this important event. Let's listen to the communication minister.
We took stock of the working conditions, particularly the paper stock, especially as we are just weeks away from the presidential elections. We are eager on ensuring the smooth running of the preparations in the technical field and also on supplying these institutions with papers. As you already know, most printing houses have supply problems. Within the framework of promoting public service and a few weeks before the elections, we must pay attention to ensuring that the printing houses are ready.
At the paper warehouses in Algiers, the minister inquired about the stock of paper of different establishments, stressing that merging printing companies into a single entity called Algerian Printing Companies will constitute an important milestone to promote the printing sector in Algeria. The Summer University of the Polisario Front and Sahrawi state officials today started at the Faculty of Law and Political Science in Boudouou in the province of Boumerdès, east of Algiers. Our colleague Mariam Bershi, who is on the spot, gives us the details.
The opening of the 12th edition of the Summer University was attended by the Governor of Boumerdès, Nahem Afouziya, and by representatives of the People's National Assembly, the Ministries of Defense, Foreign Affairs and Education, as well as the Sahrawi ambassador to Algeria, Abdelkader Talib Omar, and the chairman of the Algerian Committee for Solidarity with the Sahrawi People, Mr. Said Ayeshi, and several Sahrawi officials. 400 executives, as well as representatives of the Algerian civil society, international personalities active in the defense of the rights of peoples to self-determination, and ambassadors from several African countries are attending the Summer University, which will last until July 24, 2024. For his part, the chairman of the Algerian National Committee for Solidarity with Sahrawi People, Dr. Said Ayeshi, stressed that the event is considered an act of solidarity of the Algerian people with the Sahrawi people and aims through Algerian and Sahrawi university students to inform about the latest events of the Sahrawi issue through the organization of conferences.
Today, the 12th edition of the Summer University of the officials of the Polisario Front kicks off at the University Center in Boudouou, bringing together 310 Sahrawis in addition to high officials who chair the event. This university is above all an act of solidarity of the Algerian people with the Sahrawi people and aims through Algerian and Sahrawi university students to make known the latest events of the Sahrawi file through conferences that will be held for 9 days. The themes range from geopolitics to economics, culture, society, as well as other topics of interest for the Sahrawi people.
In his speech, the Sahrawi ambassador to Algeria hailed Algeria's constant support for just causes, notably the Palestinian and the Sahrawi cause, as advocated by the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune. During the Summer University dedicated to the war veteran Abba Ali Hamoudi and organized under the motto Struggle and Sacrifice to Impose Freedom and Independence, will address the Sahrawi issue in light of the Sahrawi people's struggle. In this respect, lectures will be given by professors and specialists in various fields, in addition to other political, cultural and media activities. From Boumerdès, Mariam Bershi for Radio Algeria International.
And representing the Sahrawi president, Mr. Ibrahim Ghali, the chairman of the Sahrawi National Council, Mr. Hamma Salama, hailed the Sahrawi people's continued determination to fight in for their freedom and self-determination. The Spanish Federation of Associations of Solidarity with Western Sahara called upon the United Nations Mission for the Referendum in Western Sahara, MINURSO, to face up to Morocco's plundering of natural resources in occupied territories. The president of the Federation, Carmelo Ramirez Marrero, said in a speech he gave before the International Cooperation and Development Commission in the House of Representatives in the Canary Islands that the United Nations mission for the referendum in Western Sahara, MINURSO, is not on vacation. It has to face to natural resources plundering and repression committed by Morocco, which is deteriorating the situation.
Currently,
there is a sentence pending solution by the European Court of Justice to reaffirm in a clear manner that Western Sahara is not under Moroccan sovereignty and that all natural resources are the property of the Sahrawi people. And any agreement that involves the use, the looting and the theft of these natural resources by the Moroccan government is a violation of the rights of the Sahrawi people.
del pueblo saharaui.
And Ramirez also denounced Spain's role regarding Morocco's systematic obstruction in the implementation of the UN resolutions, highlighting that Spain has not respected in 60 years its legal, political and moral obligations towards Western Sahara. As the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has condemned the killing of civilians in the Israeli attack against Al-Mawazi in the southern part of Gaza, the Israeli pursued its pounding of the enclave, killing and wounding scores of Palestinians. Palestinian sources said that at least 141 people were killed for the past 24 hours in the bombardments of several parts of Gaza, including the territory's central area. The Israeli bombardments targeted notably the locality of Beit Lahia and Sheikh Redwan, north of Gaza City. This came as the news agency Wafa said the death toll in yesterday's attack on a refugee camp west of Khan Yunis raised to reach 90. Over 300 people were wounded in the attack, including some seriously. The spokesman of the Palestinian presidency, Nabil Abu Rudaina, denounced the new Israeli attack as being part of the genocide perpetrated by the occupying authorities against the Palestinians. He stressed that the Israeli government continued to defy the humanitarian and international laws by carrying out war crimes and by directly targeting a displaced camp in Al-Mawazi that shelters thousands of civilians. In a similar move, the representative of the Palestinian Hamas movement here in Algiers, Youssef Hamdan, condemned the attack on an area which he recalled is supposed to be safe.
A terrible massacre was perpetrated by the Zionist occupation against Al-Mawasi, west of the city of Khan Yunis, which is an overpopulated area and which should have been safe. The Zionist occupation called on Palestinian citizens to occupy the city. However, the occupiers' aircraft bombed this area intensively, particularly the refugee camps, which left hundreds of martyrs and dozens of wounded, including women and children.
The attack was also condemned by the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, who expressed shock and sadness at the loss of human lives in a densely populated area set as humanitarian zone. Both the Arab Parliament, the Islamic Cooperation Organization, strongly condemned the attack as an odious massacre, as an extension of the war waged by the Israeli authorities against the Palestinians. The EU diplomacy chief Joseph Borrell, for his part, said that the new Israeli attacks seem to have caused a slaughter in a designated security zone, while recalling that wars had limits inscribed in the international law. U.S. presidential candidate and former President Donald Trump was shot in the ear in an attempted assassination during a campaign rally yesterday, Saturday. In the moments after the shooting, Trump was swarmed and covered up by his security agents. He quickly emerged, his face streaked with blood, and pumped his fist in the air, mouthing the word "fight" 3 times. The Trump campaign later said he was doing well and appeared to have suffered no major injury besides a wound on his upper right ear. Early on Saturday, the FBI identified 20-year-old Thomas Matteo Crooks of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, as the subject involved in what it termed an attempted assassination. He was registered Republican according to state voter records. And reactions have been pouring from world leaders, with many expressing their sympathy for Donald Trump and condemning the U.S. election campaign's descent into violence. The president of the EU Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, said political violence has no place in democracy, whilst French President Emmanuel Macron posted that it is a tragedy for the democracy. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said he was appalled by the shocking scenes at the rally. Meanwhile, Chinese Foreign Ministry said in a statement that China is concerned about the attack and President Xi Jinping has already extended his regards to Trump. Vice President Kamala Harris also denounced the abhorrent attack, saying we must all do our part to ensure that it does not lead to more violence. Other notable officials from the U.S., including former Presidents George Walker Bush and Barack Obama, offered support to Trump and condemned the attack. Obama said there is absolutely no place for political violence in our democracy. End of quote. And with this, we come to the end of this news bulletin. Time now for our weekly programs. Thank you and see you tomorrow.
Il faut numériser le pays. لازم الرقمنة. La numérisation, c'est déjà un moyen énorme de lutte contre la bureaucratie et contre la corruption.
In recent years, the acceleration of the digitization process has been placed at the top of the Algerian state's priorities. The first benefits of the implemented projects are already tangible in several key sectors in the country. Algeria is moving towards the total dematerialization of public services intended for citizens. In Algeria, the year 2023 witnessed an acceleration of the digitization process. Under the instructions of the head of state, several key sectors have been modernized, notably taxes, customs, health, digital identity, among others. Regarding education, more than 46 digital platforms intended for training and research have been launched by the Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research, and the head of state shed light on the interest granted by the state to technology in education institutions.
إن كسبة رهان الأمن السيبراني يعتمد أساسا على تثمين العنصر البشري الذي تنبثق منه الكفاءات المتمرسة المدركة لحيوية المهام المسندة إليه، وهو ما نوليه الأهمية القصوى في توجه الدولة لإحداث نقلة نوعية على مستوى تسيير الشأن العام. وبين قوسين على أهمية الموضوع سعت الحكومة لإنشاء المدارس المتخصصة في الرياضيات، في الفيزياء، وكذا في الذكاء الاصطناعي، تماشيا مع ما يسبو إليه هذا الملتقى من خلال وضع الأسس الاستراتيجية وطنية مدروسة للرقمنة، وهو خيارنا السيادي المبني على إدراكنا الجماعي لارتباط التنمية المنشودة بترشيد الحكامة والرفع من جودة أداء المؤسسات وتثمين القدرات وتعبئة الموارد. فالرقمنة التي ما فتئت أشدد على ضرورة تجسيدها ليست عملية تقنية بحت، بل هي قناعة راسخة وفي صلب أولويات بناء الجزائر الجديدة.
The President also instructed the Education Department to ensure the digitization of schools and all education institutions.
On a décidé qu'en Algérie, au plus tard, dans 2 ans, il n'y a plus de cartable, il n'y a plus de livres, il n'y a que les tablettes. Et ça va nous faire une économie de professeurs, puisque à partir de gens très bien formés, ils peuvent rentrer en contact et enseigner à distance. Et ça rentre exactement dans la politique que nous sommes en train de suivre actuellement.
The President of the Republic, Abdelmadjid Tebboune, has affirmed that digitization was inevitable, insisting on the imperative of speeding up its generalization in order to spare citizens the need to displace to different administrative services. The President said he was confident in the capacity of executives and civil servants in the various administrations to strengthen the credibility and effectiveness of public structures, driven by a sincere desire require a moral sense and professional conscience. In his speech to the nation on the fourth year of his presidency, President Abdelmadjid Tebboune tackled several major underway projects, including the administration digitization project. In the sector of labor, employment and social security sector, several platforms have been launched with the aim of reducing the time it takes to meet citizens' concerns and preventing them from having to move to these structures. To ensure the implementation of these projects, the head of state set up in September a High Commission for Digitization charged with planning the national digitization strategy and ensuring its monitoring and implementation. According to the High Commissioner for Digitization, the set strategy, which is currently being developed, will be reinforced by a law relating to digitization to take effect soon. The President said the end of the first half of 2024 will witness the completion of the digitization plan, highlighting the importance of it in terms of service and exactness. The President insisted that after the completion of constitutional, legislative and judicial reforms come the challenges of economic recovery and the promotion of social life in all its dimensions, particularly in terms of wages, housing, health, education and employment. In this line, he affirmed that modern administration will only be fully realized by improving the quality of public service with the promotion of performance, the strengthening of the sense of responsibility and professional duty. Maintaining that once this objective is achieved, the citizens' confidence in the institutions and structures of the state will be established. The President of the Republic then assured that the dignity of citizens is not a temporary slogan, but a policy, a path and a method of working in the Algeria that we are building together.
راني في سنتين نلح ونوصل لها إن شاء الله. الرقمنة ثم الرقمنة. لأن الكمبيوتر ما يعرفش يكذب. كمبيوتر ما تطيش تشريه. ونخرج من الضبابية. الضبابية هذه اللي داتنا بعيد، لأن في المناسبات نجيب أرقام وهمية لتبرر تصرفات، وهي أرقام كلها كذب في كذب.
The President of the Republic, Abdelmadjid Tebboune, insisted on the need to make digitization an unavoidable reality in Algeria as long as it constitutes an effective means against speculation and corruption. He said it is likely to improve the efficiency and quality of public services, but also to make it easier for public authorities to direct their actions and policies so as to better target objectives and produce notable results. The President of the Republic declared that the year 2027 will be a pivotal year for Algeria after the completion of the digitization process and the harvest of the fruits of development of national economy and startups.
Today I'll take you to the Sahara and more precisely to the Tassili Niger region. Tassili Niger is famous for being one of the best representations of prehistoric cave art in the world and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is a mountain range in the Sahara Desert on the southeast part of Algeria. The nearest town is Janet, which is about 10 kilometers to the southwest. There are about 15,000 cave drawings and etchings. They depict animal migrations and human life. The cave paintings have been done between 6000 BC and the 1st century AD. They are from different periods, exhibit varying characteristics and stylistic differences. In addition to the cave paintings, Tassili Najer also has outstanding landscape in the form of rock formations. There are also 300 natural rock arches in the area formed by eroded sandstones. Tassili Plateau has geological formations of outstanding scenic interest that include eroded million years ago sandstones forming forests of rock. The park comprises two geomorphic units, Sandstone Plateau called Tassili and mountainous volcanic ridge. The plateau is part of an ancient sandstone layer surrounding the Precambrian granite massif of the Ahaggar. This extends northeast down to a lower plateau edged by a 600-meter escarpment which runs for 700 kilometers in a gentle arc west-northwest, east-southeast. The plateau is between 80 and 300 kilometers wide of extremely broken terrain towards the north, its north-facing cliffs cut by several deep gorges and steep-sided watered valleys running northwards into summits. The red to black weathered sandstone has been deeply eroded into forest of 20 to 30 meter pillars like ancient ruins and rises to the southwest facing escarpment above the shifting dunes of the Erg, Tadmer and Erg Tihoudin. The park's southwestern boundary runs along the foot of this escarpment. The ridge of a relatively recent volcanic rock, the Adrar Massif, rises 30 to 50 kilometers behind the scarp to 2,158 meters in Mount Akau and is crossed at a few akbas or passes only. It is part of a Central African continental divide between northward and southward flowing watersheds. The area was most recently formed in a wet climate 10,000 years ago when the Ergs were lakes fed by rivers from the mountains. There are springs and 300 permanent giltas that are pools on the plateau, and in the north flowing Wad Imrihu, 20 kilometers of water sometimes run for 6 months. Another semi-permanent river is on the tributary, Wad Ihrir, where secreted travertine forms natural dams and pools which cascade from one level to another. Near Amgid, on the western edge, there is a huge crater. The plateau itself is very sparsely inhabited by the nomadic Kel Ajar Tuareg, the total population being at most 1,000, many after droughts having settled in Ilizi on the northern border, Zaulatez and Janet. Stock raising and agriculture are confined to the settlement. Grazing is generally on the wadi floors. Wheat, root and fruit crops are grown in a few northern valleys such as Wadi Hirir, where more than 1,000 people live. Most of the area is peopled by the Deriha, totaling 10,000. The traditional economic basis of local Tuareg society has suffered much change in the last 30 years, and it has become increasingly dependent on tourism, especially at Janet. The number of tourists is growing, and the airport was built near Janet to cater for this growth. Tourist festivals and shows now occur also at Illizi and Janet. That's all for today. Join us next week for more on the Tassili Najer Park. Bye-bye for now.
Sintonizan Radio Argelia Internacional. El diario hablado.
¿Qué tal? Buenas tardes a todos. El presidente de la República, Abdelmadjid Tebboune, afirma que la revisión de la división administrativa constituye una necesidad ineluctable. La Facultad de Derecho y Ciencias Políticas de Boumerdaz Este de Argel acoge la 12ª Universidad de los Cuadros del Frente Polisario bajo el lema Lucha y Sacrificio para imponer la libertad y la independencia. Las fuerzas de ocupación sionistas bombardean de nuevo el campamento de refugiados palestinos de Al-Mawasi en el sur de Gaza. Y el expresidente estadounidense Donald Trump escapa a un intento de asesinato en un mitin electoral en Pensilvania. Señoras y señores, muy buenas tardes a todos. Bienvenidos al diario hablado de Radio Argelia Internacional. El presidente de la República, Abdelmadjid Tebboune, subrayó que la revisión de la división administrativa se ha convertido en una necesidad inevitable para crear un equilibrio entre municipios rurales y urbanos en cumplimiento del principio de práctica democrática. En un encuentro con la sociedad civil en ocasión de su visita de trabajo a Tizi Ouzou el pasado miércoles, que fue retransmitido por la televisión argelina anoche, el presidente de la República declaró que la realidad del desarrollo en las diferentes provincias del país exige encontrar un equilibrio entre los municipios rurales y urbanos con el fin de cumplir el principio de la práctica democrática.
On va revoir tout le découpage administratif, on va revoir le code wilaya, le code communal, هادو قاع يتشافوا. اليوم مثل ما قالها نظن البريزيدون دو لا بي كي كاين 900 بلديه فقيره. هاد البلديات كيديروا يمارسوا الديمقراطيه ما عندوش لو نير دو لا غير ما عندوش دونك il est obligé de se soumettre à la tutelle باسكو تعطيه الدراهم il est obligé تتبع الدراهم تاعها وين مشاو. L'État ne peut pas donner de l'argent à une commune qui va se permettre d'appliquer la politique de son parti en dehors de la politique de l'État et ainsi de suite. Donc il faut trouver un équilibre بين البلديات القروية هذه البلديات الريفية والبلديات الحضارية. بغينا الديمقراطية تبدأ بالاقتصاد والاقتصاد يبدأ بإعادة هيكلة البلاد.
El presidente de la República destacó la situación de algunos municipios que sufren déficit financieros, subrayando que esto requiere reconsiderar la división administrativa que se ha convertido en una necesidad inevitable, señalando que la organización actual ya no corresponde a la realidad económica y social del país. El presidente Tebboune explicó que la cuestión de la división administrativa será prioritaria y que la ley municipal y de provincia se dedicará al equilibrio necesario entre los municipios rurales y urbanos con el fin de alcanzar el principio de desarrollo en todas las provincias del país. Varios partidos políticos y organizaciones nacionales mostraron su apoyo a la candidatura del presidente de la República, Abdelmadjid Tebboune, en las próximas elecciones presidenciales del 7 de septiembre próximo, con el fin de preservar los logros alcanzados y continuar el proceso de construcción y reforma. Detalles a continuación con Yasin Mihubi.
En efecto, 2 días después del anuncio del presidente de la República, Abdelmadjid Tebboune, de su intención de presentarse a un segundo mandato, varios partidos políticos mostraron su apoyo a su continuidad al frente del país. En ese sentido, el movimiento El Islah reafirmó su apoyo a la candidatura del presidente de la República en las próximas elecciones presidenciales del 7 de septiembre, comprometiéndose así a movilizar el apoyo popular necesario a su candidatura, ya que representa la opción adecuada para satisfacer las aspiraciones de los argelinos en el marco de un verdadero verdadero proyecto de renacimiento en todos los ámbitos. Por su parte, el partido Tajamu Amal al-Jazair TEJ expresó a través de su presidenta Fatima Zohra Zarwati su apoyo a la candidatura del presidente de la República, que ha asumido una gran responsabilidad en 2019 y que hoy merece ser apoyado para continuar el proceso de desarrollo y completar el proyecto de construcción de una nueva Argelia. El presidente del partido Sawt al-Sha'b, Lamin Osmani, señaló que el apoyo a la candidatura del presidente de la República Majid Tebboune se enmarca en su firme convicción de la necesidad de llevar a términos los distintos proyectos de reforma que había lanzado. Por su lado, la Academia de la Juventud Argelina afirmó que su apoyo a la candidatura del presidente de la República estaba motivado por los logros que alcanzó desde su acceso a la magistratura suprema del país, en particular sus esfuerzos por superar las repercusiones de la pandemia del COVID-19 y la crisis económica mundial.
Y siempre en previsión de las elecciones presidenciales anticipadas, el ministro de Comunicación Mohamed Lagab afirmó ayer en Argel que las imprentas estaban preparadas para las elecciones presidenciales del 7 de septiembre, sobre todo en lo que se refiere al suministro de papel en cantidades suficientes. En una declaración a la prensa, al margen de una visita de inspección a las imprentas de su sector en la capital Argel, el ministro aseguró la disponibilidad del papel necesario para el proceso electoral, insistiendo en la necesidad de que estas imprentas estén preparadas a nivel técnico, pero también en lo que respecta al suministro de papel para este importante acontecimiento.
Hemos supervisado las condiciones de trabajo, particularmente las reservas de papel, sobre todo cuando estamos a pocas semanas de las elecciones presidenciales. Estamos prestando atención al buen desarrollo de esta operación desde el punto de vista técnico en materia de suministro de esta empresa de papel. Como ya saben, la mayoría de las imprentas tienen problemas de suministro. En el marco de la promoción del servicio público y a pocas semanas de las elecciones, debemos prestar atención a que las imprentas estén listas.
Hay que señalar que en los almacenes de papel de la compañía argelina de papel en las zonas industriales de Ruiba y El Gaya, el ministro se interesó por las existencias estratégicas de papel en estos dos establecimientos, afirmando que la fusión de las imprentas en una sola entidad llamada Sociedad Argelina de Impresión será un hito importante en la promoción del sector de las comunicaciones y de la industria gráfica en Argelia. Tratándose de la incesante guerra genocida sionista contra Gaza después del genocidio colectivo perpetrado ayer en el campamento de refugiados de Al-Mawasi, los ciudadanos gazatíes de la zona central, en particular, han sido objeto de intensos bombardeos que han causado decenas de víctimas entre muertos e heridos. Más precisiones con Yassine Mihubi.
Numerosos palestinos han caído en mártires y otras decenas han resultado heridas tras una serie de brutales agresiones de la aviación militar sionista lanzados esta madrugada contra distintas regiones de la devastada franja de Gaza. Las agresiones se han centrado en la región de Abu Iskandar, ubicada en el barrio de Sheikh Radwan en el norte de la ciudad de Gaza, donde los equipos médicos han transferido a los cadáveres hacia el hospital El Indonesio, según ha dado a conocer la agencia palestina Wafa. Reseñar que en las últimas 24 horas la ocupación sionista cometió 4 nuevas masacres contra las indefensas familias palestinas en Gaza, en las que 141 palestinos cayeron en mártires y más de 400 personas resultaron heridas. Así, el balance total de las víctimas registradas tras 282 días consecutivos desde el comienzo de las atrocidades sionistas en Gaza se ha elevado a 38.584 mártires y 88.881 heridos, según los últimos datos facilitados por el Ministerio Palestino de Sanidad.
Y la situación humanitaria se empeora cada día más en la asediada franja de Gaza en medio de la prosecución de los ataques sionistas y la destrucción de las infraestructuras necesarias, especialmente los hospitales, ya están fuera de servicio. Al respecto, el presidente de la Comisión Internacional de Apoyo al Pueblo Palestino, Salah Abdel Ati, llamó ayer a la formación de una coalición internacional para acabar con la agresión sionista en curso contra la población gazatí. Invitado al foro del diario argelino Al-Fajr, el abogado y activista resaltó el imperativo de crear una coalición internacional humanitaria para apoyar a los derechos del pueblo palestino, reuniendo todos los países firmantes de los convenios de Ginebra y rechazando a los crímenes de la ocupación y el genocidio que está llevando a cabo desde hace más de 9 meses. Por otra parte, y antes de concluir el expediente palestino, cabe señalar que varios gobiernos y organizaciones condenaron las incesantes prácticas genocidas contra los ciudadanos palestinos en Gaza. En ese contexto, el representante del movimiento palestino de resistencia Hamas en Argelia, Youssef Hamdan, calificó dicha agresión sionista de terrible masacre que apuntó a una zona sobrepoblada y que debía